I was asked to make some decisions today about whether or not to condemn a tree or whether we could keep it and make it safe enough. Okay, I'm out on Stafford Drive in Cupertino, and we've got a very large live oak tree that is close to the creek. I'm not sure if it's on Waterworks property or not, but it is a problem because we experienced a limb failure. This happened last night, and it is clearly a very decayed pocket. The foliage up above this is in pretty good shape, and it's not an excessively large limb, so this was clearly decaying and rotting for a long time. If we look at the back side of this, there is an old wound down here that has been curling, and it was hollow and quite the pocket. It's kind of hard to see, but this is what led to this. Now, my problem is, for the size of the limb, I did not believe that this limb was as hazardous as it clearly became. The limb failed, and you can see, well, you can't see from here, but I can see that that whole area right there is completely showing decay all the way around. But the surrounding tissue does not show any clear evidence other than this large wound back here that it was ready to go. So this was a difficult one to evaluate, and there is some decay within this large main crotch right here. So I would recommend doing a further investigation and looking at all the little decay pockets, especially on that large section that goes over the house. From the outside, the tissue seemed fairly intact, with the exception of that one cavity back there. And there's also something very interesting on the inside here. You can see all this black, it looks like a hypoxylon fungus growing from the inside, and it almost looks like lava all the way through here. And the decay organisms extend all the way out to the very edges, and there's just this little tiny bit of live tissue here. I would say, 15, maybe 20% of this had about 4 to 5 inches of live tissue. But when you look down in here, you can see the decay pocket came all the way up into this surround. So, what do we do? Should we condemn the tree? It's a nice tree. It's a big tree. Just because of an incident right there. Should we do more weight reduction all the way around? I think so. Should we inspect the rest of the cavities? Absolutely. Okay, so this Quercus agrifolia has a trunk diameter of about 5 feet. It's a pretty significant tree. But if you look at the base of the tree, it is compromised an area of over 3.5 feet. And that is very likely weak all the way into the trunk. And I can see up the trunk that this whole portion of the tree is starting to go. There's some active tissue over here and some active tissue over here. But oftentimes when you have a big decay pocket down low like this, you have to go up into the trunk of the tree and look at it. Now, there is a catch pocket up there, and live foliage, not oak, but there was a fig tree and a bunch of other things were pulled out of there that had a fairly extensive root system. Now we go a little bit further up into the trunk of the tree, and there's a fairly significant old decay pocket right there, which is an unknown. However, if you start connecting the dots and say decay pocket, rot pocket in the main crotch, trunk decay, it is very likely that we have a column of decay that comes up through this. It's in an area of potential serious weakness. Now, with the failure that we just had on this large limb over here, I'm concerned about this side of the tree. As I go up into the tree, it's hard to see in this lack of light, but there are 2 fig trees growing out of a rot pocket right here. So that is directly behind the large wound where all that rot is. So this area of the tree is entirely compromised, and there's a significant limb over here that goes over most of the landscape. So this area of the tree is in pretty rough shape. My main concern is this. It's over the power lines and over the house. So any weakness associated with this portion of the tree could be a catastrophic failure. The rest of the trunk of the tree at the base doesn't look too bad, but this failure right here, which happened, I have to admit is a bit of a surprise to me. I did recognize that there was this large cavity down here and there was a pocket in here, but this is not a very big limb. So that amount of failure, it surprised me. And the limb had a lot of end weight removed on it, 5-6 years ago. So, you know, my first guess would have been that this, well, for a couple of reasons. One, it was over the creek side, so it wouldn't have hit the house, so I wasn't as concerned about it. But because it wasn't such a massive big limb, I didn't believe that it was as much of a hazard. So that surprised me. You learn something new every day. And when you look up into the tree, this whole area right here, this is the back side of that rot pocket with the 2 fig trees. So this is a little better view of this large section of the tree. So I see a weakness from there down to here. There's sort of an old stub that came off. Oh, look at that. We got some birds nesting inside there. They're going up into this cavity. So we do have a bit of a wildlife issue. So the other portion of the tree is this big section which comes back over the creek, and that's connected to this portion. And I don't see any obvious decay pockets up there. But there is kind of an indentation right here. Whether that's anything at all, I don't know. But there's an awful lot of weight directly over the backside of this. So this whole union right here is compromised. So because of that serious compromise, I think that I have to condemn the tree. And I don't like to, but there are too many things wrong with this tree. And the long and the short of it is, there are just too many things that are adding up to problems. The other option would be a really significant weight reduction all the way around. And that would likely leave the tree so disfigured and so ugly that it would be better just to remove it. Okay, down inside here. Oh yeah, it goes in quite a ways. Yeah, so I need to get a probe and put it in there and see exactly how far in that goes. I found this hole at the base of the tree, so I've got a stick here and I'm doing a little bit of probing, and it went in about 8 inches, but as I dig around, I've hit a couple spots. There's a spot where it goes in about 2 feet, and over here I found a spot. Let's see if I can find, there it goes. Okay, keeps going from here to here. So we've got over 2 feet in there. So that tells me that the trunk is more compromised down at this base than I believed. So that just adds more credibility to this decision that I'm trying to come to. It's my opinion, but I believe that this tree should not stay here.
Now, when you're trying to make these decisions about whether or not to remove a big tree, especially a significant tree such as this oak, you have to be very careful and look at all the problems, all the obvious problems, but also all the potential problems, the hidden problems, the what-ifs. And many times by connecting the dots, you can come up with a better idea of what you believe is going on, but you can't always bank on that. And it's also important not to let emotional issues sway you in the decision. You have to base everything on the facts. Sometimes people absolutely love a tree and they want to save it at all costs, but that's not our job. Our job is to just look at the facts, look at the defects, look at the potential problems, and come up with the best evaluation that we can. But when you connect it all, the decision usually reveals itself. Thanks for watching, and if you like my videos, please subscribe.